I was never the type of man to snoop. I always believed that trust was the foundation of everything, and if you had to go digging, you were already in trouble. But that night, something in my gut told me I had to look. I had to know. Emily had been acting different for weeks, no months. I ignored it at first, chalked it up to work stress, to routine, to life getting in the way of passion. But it wasn't that. It was something else. Something that slithered under my skin and refused to let go. I could feel the shape of the truth forming, but I wasn't ready to look it in the eye. Not yet. Then she made her first mistake. I came home earlier than usual, expecting to find her in the kitchen or curled up on the couch watching one of those reality shows she always pretended to hate. Instead, the house was dark, silent. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I checked my phone. No message. No missed calls. I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe she was out running errands. Maybe she was at Sarah's place like she had mentioned earlier. But deep down, I knew. I sat in the dimly lit living room, the clock on the wall ticking in slow, deliberate beats, stretching the minutes into something unbearable. Every sound outside made my pulse jump. An engine idling, footsteps crunching on gravel, a car door slamming. And then, at 1:47 a.m., headlights cut through the window. Emily's car rolled into the driveway, moving too slowly, as if she were deliberately buying herself a few extra seconds before coming inside. My hands tightened into fists as I watched. The door opened. She stepped out, straightening her dress, smoothing her hair. My breath hitched. That dress. It was tight, red, and I hadn't seen it in years. Not since our honeymoon. Not since she used to wear it for me. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she walked up to the door. But something was wrong. Her movements were sluggish, hesitant. I didn't move. I just sat there, waiting. The front door creaked open, and she slipped inside, closing it as quietly as she could. And that's when I flicked on the light. She froze. For a split second, her entire body tensed, her fingers twitching like she was debating whether to run or explain. Her face was flushed, her lips slightly swollen. Her mascara smudged just enough to make my stomach turn. I didn't say a word. Her eyes darted around the room, as if searching for an escape, a way out of whatever she had just walked into. And then, like a switch flipping, she forced a laugh. "Jesus, you scared me," she said, placing a hand over her chest like this was all just some silly misunderstanding. I still didn't speak, because I saw it. The tiny details. The strap of her dress, slightly twisted like it had been pulled down and hastily yanked back up. The faint indentation on her ring finger where she had removed her wedding band, probably stuffed in the glove compartment, or maybe even lost somewhere in a hotel room. The way she took half a step back, like the weight of the truth was physically pushing her away from me. Her mistake wasn't in coming home late. It wasn't in wearing a dress she hadn't touched in years. It wasn't even in the nervous, forced laughter. It was in her eyes. Why, guilty, caught. And for the first time in my life, I felt nothing but cold, sharp certainty. She recovered quickly. Too quickly. In the time it took for me to exhale, the shock on her face melted into something else. Annoyance, maybe even mild amusement, as if I were the one acting strange. She stepped forward, her heels barely making a sound on the hardwood floor, her expression softening into something rehearsed. "Why are you sitting here in the dark?" she asked, shaking her head like this was just another Tuesday night. "Are you okay?" I let the question hang between us, let the air grow thick and uncomfortable. Her fingers twitched at her sides, her weight shifting from one foot to the other. She was waiting for me to break first, to let her off the hook with some stupid excuse. Couldn't sleep. Just thinking, maybe I'm overreacting. But I didn't give her that. Instead, I looked at her the way I would a stranger, like I was trying to figure out who the hell she really was. Her confidence wavered. "Emily?" I said, my voice so calm it startled even me. "Where were you?" The question landed like a slap. A flash of something crossed her face, something raw and unfiltered, but it disappeared just as fast as it came. She scoffed, rolling her eyes like I had just accused her of something ridiculous. "I told you, I was with Sarah. A lie, a bad one. Too fast, too easy." I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "Call her." Her smile faltered. "What? Call Sarah." I repeated, nodding toward her phone. Right now. She let out a breathy laugh, shaking her head. Are you serious? It's almost 2 in the morning. She won't mind if it's the truth. Her jaw tightened. Her tongue ran over her teeth. She wasn't prepared for this, and I watched as her mind scrambled to find a way out. She could keep lying, double down, play the how dare you not trust me card. But I had backed her into a corner, and she knew it. Finally, she huffed. Oh my God. I can't believe this. You're actually accusing me of something right now. She crossed her arms, tilting her head like I was the unreasonable one. I had one night to myself. One night. And suddenly I'm on trial? I just stared at her. Silence. Thick, heavy, unbearable. She broke first. Fine, she snapped, pulling out her phone with a dramatic flourish. You want to call Sarah? Let's call her. I watched as she scrolled through her contacts, the glow of the screen illuminating her face. But then, just as she was about to press dial, something stopped her. A hesitation so small most people wouldn't have noticed it. But I did. Her finger hovered over the screen for a split second too long. A moment of internal debate. Then she hit call. I heard the rings. 1, 2, 3, and then voicemail. Emily turned the phone toward me, lips pursed in defiance. See? She's asleep. I didn't blink, didn't move. And that's when I said, voice cold and even, let me see your texts. Her body locked up. A full body freeze, like someone had pressed pause on her nervous system. It lasted only a second, but it was enough. That was all the proof I needed. Her grip on the phone tightened. Her knuckles turned white. For a split second, I thought she might actually do it. Hand over her phone, prove me wrong, make me feel like an idiot for doubting her. But then, just as quickly, I saw it. The calculation. The gears turning in her head. She was trapped and she knew it. And then, in true Emily fashion, she did the one thing she always did when backed into a corner. She went on the attack. Are you serious right now? She snapped, holding her phone to her chest like it was some sacred relic. You're actually asking to go through my messages? Do you hear yourself? I didn't answer, just kept staring at her, waiting. She scoffed. This is insane. You're insane. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Jesus, I go out for one night. One night. And suddenly I'm a criminal? I have to prove my innocence like some cheating suspect. I tilted my head. That's exactly what a guilty person would say. Her mouth snapped shut. For the first time since she walked through that door, the mask slipped. A flicker of something raw flashed in her eyes. Panic. Real panic. Because now, she wasn't just trying to talk her way out of suspicion. Now she knew I knew, and I wasn't letting this go. Her breath hitched. It was so slight, I almost missed it. Then, in one smooth motion, she turned and walked toward the hallway. Nope, I'm not doing this, she said, her voice shaking just enough to give her away. I'm not going to stand here and let you interrogate me like some. I was faster. I stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Move, she said, voice lower now, more serious. Give me your phone. She let out a humorless laugh, running a hand through her hair. Oh my God. Listen to yourself. You don't own me, okay? I'm allowed to have privacy. I didn't move. Then what are you hiding? Nothing. Then prove it. A tense silence stretched between us. I could hear the sound of the clock ticking, the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, her mind racing for a way out. And then, in one desperate, reckless move, she did something that made my blood turn to ice. She deleted something, right in front of me. Her thumb moved in a blur over the screen. Swipe, tap, gone. I didn't even think. I just lunged forward and grabbed the phone out of her hands before she could do anything else. Give that back, she shrieked, clawing at my arm, but I held it out of her reach. I turned the screen toward me, my pulse hammering in my ears. The messages were gone. A clean slate.
No conversations. No proof.
But she had been sloppy, too desperate, too rushed, because when I swiped down on the notifications, I saw it. A name. A single damning name. Jason. A message previewed beneath it. One she hadn't had time to delete before I grabbed the phone. A message that made my entire body go numb. Tonight was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. I stared at it. The words blurred together. The oxygen left my lungs. Emily went still. And then, in the softest, coldest voice I had ever heard come out of my own mouth, I asked, "Who the hell is Jason?" Emily didn't answer right away. She just stood there, frozen, her face draining of color. It was the first real reaction she'd given me all night. No scoffing, no fake outrage, no performative eye rolls. Just pure, raw fear. I turned the screen toward her, shoving it in her face. "Say it." My voice was eerily calm, but inside, something was unraveling. "Who is Jason?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. And then, just like that, the mask snapped back into place. She scoffed. Actually scoffed. "Oh my God. This is what you're freaking out about?" She let out a breathy, forced laugh. "It's nothing, okay? You're making this way bigger than it is."
I stared at her.
I wasn't sure what was worse, the fact that she had just deleted evidence right in front of me, or the fact that she still thought she could gaslight her way out of this. "Nothing," I repeated, my voice dangerously low. I turned the phone back toward me, reading the message out loud. "Tonight was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. That's nothing." Emily threw her hands up. "Jesus, he's just a friend." I laughed. Actually laughed. A sharp, humorless sound that cut through the tension like a knife. "A friend. Yes, a friend," she snapped. "We were just talking, okay? You're twisting this into something it's not." I took a slow step forward, my grip tightening around her phone. "Then why did you delete the messages?" She flinched. "Got you." Her eyes flickered, and for the first time I saw it, real, naked panic. She was losing control of the conversation, and she knew it. I didn't delete anything," she tried, but her voice was shaking now. I held up the phone. "Emily, I just watched you delete them." Silence. Then, in a move so predictable it made my skin crawl, she doubled down. "You're paranoid," she spat. God, you're so insecure. I can't even have friends without you flipping out." I took another step forward, closing the space between us. "Where were you tonight?" "I told you. Not with Sarah." I cut in. "We both know that's a lie, so say it. Say where you really were." Her lips pressed into a tight line. I waited. She clenched her jaw. I waited longer, and then she cracked. "Fine," she burst out, throwing her hands in the air. "I was with Jason, okay? But it's not what you think." I stared at her, my whole body buzzing with something cold and electric. "Then tell me what it was." She hesitated. I watched her mind scramble, grasping for an explanation that wouldn't bury her even deeper. I could see the lies forming behind her eyes, twisting and reshaping into something more palatable. "It was God. It was stupid," she said, her voice suddenly soft, almost pleading. "I was just venting, okay? About us. About how distant you've been. How things haven't felt the same. Jason, he just listened. That's all." I let out a slow breath. She had just admitted it. Not to everything. Not to the worst of it. But enough. "So you vented to him," I said, voice steady. "At 1 a.m, in that dress, while he can't stop thinking about you." Her throat bobbed. "Emily?" I said, my voice dropping lower. "Did you sleep with him?" Her eyes widened, just for a fraction of a second, and that was all I needed to see. The air between us felt electric, like the moment before a thunderstorm when everything is charged, waiting to explode. She didn't answer, didn't breathe, didn't blink, and that told me everything. "Say it," I demanded, my voice eerily quiet now. "Say the words. Did you sleep with him?" Emily's hands curled into fists at her sides. She looked at me, and for a brief second, I thought, this is it. She's going to tell the truth. She's going to admit it. But then, just as quickly, she did what she always did. She lied. "No," she barked, her voice sharp and defensive. "God, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to turn this into something it's not?" I let out a short, bitter laugh, shaking my head. "You really think I'm that stupid?" She pointed a trembling finger at me, her face twisting in anger. "You're insane, do you know that? You're standing here, acting like some obsessed psycho over a stupid text. I stepped closer, holding up her phone. Then why did you delete the messages? She opened her mouth. Shut it. She had nothing. I exhaled sharply, my patience snapping like a frayed wire. You cheated, Emily. Just say it. Her jaw tightened. I did not cheat on you. I let out a humorless laugh. Right? You just got all dressed up for some late-night venting session with Jason. And what, you tripped and fell into his car? Maybe accidentally landed in his lap? Is that how it happened? Her face darkened. Screw you, she spat. And just like that, I saw her real face. Not the soft-spoken, sweet Emily I had married. Not the woman who used to kiss my cheek while I made coffee, who used to trace circles on my back in bed. No, this Emily, the one standing in front of me now, was ugly. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't even trying to fix it. She was mad at me for catching her, for not letting her lie her way out of it, for making her look in the mirror and see the kind of person she really was. I took a step back, suddenly feeling like I was seeing her for the first time. You don't even feel bad, do you? I asked, my voice hollow. She crossed her arms, tilting her chin up defiantly. I feel bad that I ever trusted you. A sharp, humorless laugh burst from my lips. Oh, that's rich. You went through my phone, she shouted, her voice shaking now, her eyes burning with anger. You violated my privacy. You ambushed me, and now you're acting like I'm the villain? I just stared at her, my stomach churning. She actually believed that. She actually thought she could flip this on me, make me the bad guy. And the worst part? I realized in that moment that this wasn't new. This was just the first time I had seen it. All the time she had twisted things before, made me doubt myself, made me question my own instincts. It all made sense now. This wasn't an accident. This was who she was. And finally, I saw it clearly. Emily wasn't the woman I thought she was. And I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. A strange calm washed over me. It wasn't relief, not yet. It wasn't peace. It was just clarity. For the first time, I wasn't tangled in her words. I wasn't letting her gaslight me into submission. Wasn't falling for the guilt-tripping, the rage, the fake outrage. I saw her for exactly what she was. And she hated that. Emily stood across from me, her arms still crossed, her face still twisted in anger. But beneath that, beneath the sharp edges of her performance, I saw something else, fear. Not fear of losing me. No, that wasn't it. Fear of losing control. Because this was how it had always been. Every argument, every disagreement, she had always won. Not because she was right, but because she knew how to twist the knife just enough to make me back down. Not this time. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. You're unbelievable, she scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was being dramatic. Oh, grow up. I clenched my jaw. You cheated, Emily. Her face darkened. No, I didn't. Do you think I'm blind? I asked, stepping forward. Do you think I didn't see you hesitate when I asked where you were? Do you think I didn't see you panic when I asked you to call Sarah? Or the way you damn near threw your phone across the room when I told you to show me your texts? She shook her head, her lip curling. You're so full of. You deleted them right in front of me. Her mouth snapped shut. And then, like clockwork, the gears turned again. Her expression shifted. Less anger now, more desperation. The tears came next. Baby, please, she whispered, stepping forward, reaching for me. You're getting everything all wrong. I flinched back, and the rejection must have stung, because she let out a choked little gasp, her eyes going wide, like I had physically struck her. But I knew what this was. I had seen this routine before, just never directed at me. The trembling lip, the watery eyes, the small, vulnerable voice. It was all part of the act. I almost laughed. She was really trying this? She thought after everything. After Jason, after the messages, after lying to my face over and over, that she could just cry and I'd drop it? I stared at her, something cold settling deep inside my chest. You know what's funny? I asked, my voice quieter now. She blinked, caught off guard. What? I don't even care why you did it. Her lips parted, a slight furrow forming between her brows. I don't care if it was one time. I don't care if it was emotional or physical. I don't care if it didn't mean anything. I exhaled sharply. Because the only thing that matters is who you are. She swallowed hard, her eyes darting between mine, searching for an opening, a way back in. I didn't give her one. You lied, I continued. Repeatedly. You watched me beg you for the truth, and you still lied. I took a small step back, and her face twisted with something that looked suspiciously like panic. And now that I know the truth, you're not even sorry. Her lips parted. That's not. I don't want an apology. I cut in, my voice razor sharp. The words hit her like a slap. Because she knew exactly what I meant. This wasn't a fight I wanted to fix. This was the end. Emily's breath hitched. For the first time, she wasn't angry. She wasn't defensive. She was scared. And for the first time, I didn't feel anything for her. Not love. Not sadness. Just nothing. Because the woman standing in front of me wasn't my wife. Not anymore. Maybe she never had been. Emily must have seen the shift in my eyes, the way my entire posture changed. Because in that moment, her whole demeanor flipped. The anger, the defiance, the fake tears. All of it vanished like smoke in the wind. Now she looked desperate. Wait, she whispered, stepping closer. Her voice suddenly soft, almost pleading. We can fix this. I didn't move. She swallowed hard. I messed up. Okay. Panicked. That's why I lied. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back, and that seemed to unnerve her even more. But I swear it wasn't what you think. It was stupid. A mistake. That's all. I shook my head. You're only saying that because you know I'm done. Her lips parted, and for the first time tonight, she didn't have a quick response. Tell me something, Emily? I said, folding my arms across my chest. If I hadn't caught you tonight, if I hadn't turned on that light when you walked in, would you have ever told me? Silence. She didn't even try to answer. That told me everything. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, that's what I thought. Emily clenched her jaw. You're not even going to try to work through this? I let out a humorless laugh. Work through what? The fact that you've been sneaking around behind my back? That you lied to my face all night? That you probably would have kept lying if I hadn't caught you? I shook my head.
No.
There's nothing to work through. Her face twisted. So that's it? 7 years. And you're just gonna throw it all away? I took a step closer, lowering my voice. I didn't throw anything away, Emily. You did. For a second, I almost thought I saw regret in her eyes. But then, just as quickly as it came, it changed. Her expression hardened. The tears dried up. And then, just like that, I saw the real Emily again. She scoffed, rolled her eyes. Oh, give me a break, she snapped. You're acting like some victim, like I'm the worst person in the world for one mistake. I barked out a laugh, shaking my head. One mistake. I gestured to her phone. You don't text a guy that you can't stop thinking about him after one mistake. She crossed her arms. Whatever. You're overreacting. And there it was. The final nail in the coffin. I stared at her for a long, silent moment. Then, with a steady voice, I said the words I knew she never thought she'd hear. I want a divorce. Emily's face dropped. Her mouth opened, then closed, like she couldn't quite process what I had just said. What? You heard me? I said, my voice cold. For a moment, she just stood there, blinking at me, her lips parting like she was about to argue. But then she saw it. The finality in my eyes. The realization that she had pushed too far. Her face twisted in frustration. Fine, she spat, her voice venomous. If you want to be that dramatic, then go ahead. Walk away. But don't come crawling back when you realize no one else is going to put up with you. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Trust me, Emily, I said, stepping past her, heading for the bedroom. I'd rather be alone than spend another second with you. Emily didn't follow me. She just stood there, seething, her arms crossed so tightly across her chest it looked like she was holding herself together. Maybe she thought I was bluffing. Maybe she thought that if she just let me storm off, I'd cool down, come back, and we'd sweep this whole thing under the rug like it never happened. She didn't get it. There was nothing left to fix. I walked into the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase and started packing. Not because I had nowhere else to go. I had plenty of places. but because I refused to sleep under the same roof as her for another night. The thought of her made my skin crawl. Behind me, I heard her footsteps approaching, slow at first, then faster as realization started sinking in. "Wait!" she blurted, stepping into the doorway. "You're actually leaving?" I didn't answer, just grabbed another handful of clothes and shoved them into the suitcase. She let out a breathy, incredulous laugh. "Oh my God! You're serious?" I zipped up the bag. "Are you really going to throw everything away over this?" she demanded, her voice rising. "Over one stupid mistake?" I turned to face her, my jaw tightening. "Stop calling it that." She threw her hands up. "That's what it was." "No, Emily," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "A mistake is forgetting to lock the door. A mistake is knocking over a glass of wine. A mistake isn't sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face, and then trying to gaslight me when I catch you. That's not a mistake. That's who you are." Her nostrils flared, and for the first time, she didn't have a comeback.
No excuses. No fake tears.
Just raw, seething anger. "You're so dramatic," she hissed. I let out a dry chuckle. "And you're so predictable." Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I grabbed my suitcase, rolling it past her as I headed for the door. "It means you never thought you'd actually have to face the consequences of your actions." She stepped in front of me, blocking the way. "You can't just leave." I raised an eyebrow. "Watch me." Her mouth pressed into a thin line. And then, because she couldn't stand losing, because she had to get the last word, she threw out one final shot. "Good," she spat. "Go. Run away like a coward. But don't come crawling back when you realize you're nothing without me." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. I leaned in just enough for her to hear me clearly. "The only thing I regret," I said, my voice low and firm, "is not seeing you for what you really are sooner." Her face twisted with rage, but I didn't stick around to hear whatever venomous response she had left. I walked right past her, through the front door, and into the cool night air. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free.